Welcome back, everybody. I'm super excited, to start this episode again with a great guest today. And I see him right now. I will introduce him in a sec. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, if you listen to it and if you're a coach, wherever you're from, doesn't matter what level you are at, just reach out to me and we can see to get you on the show. Most important thing for me is to create a platform where for coaches around the world and everybody can share and share their experiences. I'm an open book. I'm alongside you. I want to learn, so that's why I bring on guests that have experience in coaching, and I'm really looking forward to picking their brain. And coming to my guest, he is in New York right now from NYU. He's an assistant coach there. He's in coaching for, I think, over 5 years now. And he's taking the time right now. So I'm super excited to have you on. Thank you, man. Brandon Newsome. How's it going, man?
It's going well. I appreciate you for having me on. It's definitely a great opportunity to be able to just, have conversation and help out with either, questions answered or anything like that. So definitely appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. I appreciate you being on, and obviously we have different experiences. Like I'm in Germany on the other side of the world, but we share a common passion, which is basketball and basketball coaching in general. And I always am very appreciative when there are coaches who want to share. Who say, hey, I want to give to others, and I feel like this is the great way to also make others better and also evolve as coaches all around the world. So great to have you here. Yeah, maybe you want to introduce yourself a little bit to all the listeners. Maybe you can just say a little bit of where you're from and what you're doing and where you're coming from, basically. But what would be very interesting to me would be how did you fall in love with the game of basketball, and also how did you fall in love with coaching, because those are two different things. And there's a lot of people who love basketball, but maybe not necessarily like coaching. So I would be curious about that.
Yeah, no problem at all. So as far as just background on me is, from Syracuse, New York. So grew up in upstate New York, around basketball. Syracuse University is a huge university that's in the city where I'm at. And, they were always a 20-win team, really good around then. And then, in 2003, they won the championship. So Syracuse was, really good for basketball in the sense of, just where I grew up, the area I grew up in. So basketball has always been a part of who I am. My dad, my uncles all played basketball. Some of them went, you know, as high as Division I collegiately for, playing scholarship offers, thing like that. So I've always been around basketball. Was a multi-sport athlete, so football, basketball, and track and field. As you can see, I stuck with the sport that's indoors because of weather purposes in upstate New York. I was like, all right, don't know if it's going to be a little bit too cold in the fall going into that, for football. And then spring, sometimes it came late. So it was like, all right, I'm just going to stick to an indoor sport and focus on that, which is what I focused on throughout high school. And that's where middle school to high school just focused on basketball, and that's where I was able to, be fortunate enough to go to a couple schools and work my way onto, college rosters. I had a different path in a sense of, I went to a Division I and tried to walk on. That didn't work out. Had some things happen back home to where I had to leave school. Worked for a little bit and figured out that I didn't want to work yet. So I got back into school at a junior college. I played 2 years at a junior college, and then from there I went to a Division III in Providence, Rhode Island, Johnson and Wells, and played there for 2 years. And then after, to go into your question of how do I get into it and fall in love with it, I didn't want to leave basketball. Having that time where I left school to work made me realize how much I loved the game of basketball. So, being around basketball, it's like, okay, what do I want to do that'll keep me around? So it was a bunch of emails that were sent to coaches on both men's and women's side, trying to figure a way in, if it was an internship or a graduate assistant, anything of that. And luckily, even though I didn't get the job in New York City the first time, It was a school that reached out to me called SUNY Canton because my resume was forwarded to him from a coach in New York City. So it was like, oh, so it all comes back full circle of how it started to where I am now is a coach in New York City sent my resume to a coach at SUNY Canton, which is really upstate New York. Like that is really upstate, close to Canada. It gets cold up there, but it was a good spot to start. I started there, was there for 2 years, and then I moved on to Wheaton College in Massachusetts, where I was there for 2 years, and now here I am in New York City at NYU, going into my second year. So it's been a full circle moment. Sometimes when you think about it, but I really wanted to be involved with basketball and stay involved with basketball, and me missing it is how I realized how much love I had for it.
Very great story. Yeah, I think this is the most important thing, right? Is about the emotions. It's about not like, oh, okay, I want to be this NBA coach or whatever. Maybe that would be a great goal, but it's all about, hey, I want to stay attached to basketball and I want to keep working in that field. And that's obviously the dream if you have this passion and you can work in the field of your passion, basically.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. What would interest me is that obviously you send out a lot of resumes, you send out a lot of applications, but what do you think is what catches the eye of a lot of people? Like when a coach comes and says, hey, okay, we want Brandon, what do you think? What is it?
That can go, a couple ways, in a sense of on the personal aspect of it. I think that's why, I've been able to be fortunate enough of making these connections when I'm coaching or on the road or things like that, to where people do know the name or know who I am as a person. But resume wise, I think it's just how the success carries over. So when I say like the resume of that is when I was in college at the Saranac Lake is where I was at. I was at North Country Community College. So I was Saranac Lake, New York, another upstate New York place. But I was there and I was the first graduating class to have 220 win seasons. And then I went to Johnson and Wells, and the first year we won the conference tournament. Second year we made the conference playoffs, and then so you see the success that it has now carried on to where even in my coaching so far has carried on to I went to SUNY Canton and we won the conference championship. Second year we didn't get to defend it because that was the year that COVID shut everything down. And then that the next year you were kind of still lingering from that, but then at Wheaton College was able to host the first playoff game in over 10 years, and then coming here to NYU and being successful of making the tournament, winning the conference, and getting to the second round. So I think from the success carries on, but the personal and knowing who the person is and having those conversations, and I think that's what carries the networking, what carries that resume even further is the person that's behind the paper.
Really interesting. It's like probably obviously a mix of different things, right? It could also be the success could be great, but the person behind it is not what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we want this kind of coach or that type of coach. What type of coach are you?
So a lot of people joke especially my players and other coaches, that I don't have much to say. So that's one of the things is if we're having meetings, it's like, what do you think? Is I may answer it, may say I don't have too much to say. Not a man of extended words, but it's the words that I do say, and when I do say them, I think they understand them. In between the lines, you see the passion, you see the love, like we talked about, for the game, and being able to have that success, and the players see like, oh, he was successful, he knows what he's talking about, or things like that. But in between, like I want to have fun. I want to. I do take it serious, but it's all about having fun and getting the most out of it. Because it may be some may go play pro, some may go international, some may have the opportunity, depending on where you are, to go to higher levels and play. Some may go into work, but it's the most that you can get out of what you're doing in that time that you're in the gym or, on the court or just around each other is really just trying to work to get the most out of it.
I'm someone like I. That's why I also asked this question because, like the question before, which was, how would you choose a coach for your program? And it came down to obviously the success as well. You have to kind of start smaller, right, and then you kind of work your way up, obviously. But this is something that is for me especially very, very important because I'm someone I got into basketball when I was 19 years old. I was a soccer guy or like
Mm.
a football guy. Actually, in Europe we say football, but I know you say soccer. Um, my entire life in Germany, basketball wasn't that big. So I got actually into Canada when I was 19 after high school. I was
Okay.
in Toronto, and there it started. Fell in love with the Raptors, my team.
Yeah.
Super happy. 2019, we won a chip. Um, so that was an amazing experience, and all of a sudden, I was at a school, and I was doing voluntary service there and worked with the gym teacher, and he had like a basketball team. So I was all of a sudden I was an assistant coach without knowing anything about basketball. So yeah, long story short, in the end, it is like obviously I didn't have this experience of being a player on a team. I think this is obviously something that is very important.
Hmm.
I mean, there are coaches that don't have this experience, but it's obviously understanding the game from a different perspective. You've been a player, as you mentioned, right? What do you think? What do you gain as a player that you can really use and utilize as a coach?
Again, this can be, answered in various ways, but as a player, depending on, in some cases, like positionally and things like that, you have a different feel for the game. You see things a little bit differently. So, especially when I'm dealing with, the younger players right now, and me being a point guard slash I played a little bit off the ball, but when I was in college, I got moved to a point guard just because I knew where everyone needed to be. So things like that of knowing where people need to be, or being able to see things before they happen, type of deal, or those type of situations you're able to implement into coaching, but also knowing little like counters, I would say. So if I know a defense is going to guard it this way, what things do I know as a coach that I can tell you as a player to look for to help implement, your game into, all right, well, if I know they're going to try to blitz you on a ball screen, maybe you try to drag it out even more. So when you do make that pass, now we're at a numbered advantage because they're going to take so long for that big man to retreat back to his guy. Or, noticing little intricate parts of basketball, I think has been able to help me help student athletes right now as far as progressing their game, seeing the game differently, and then also in scouting reports. Sometimes when I'm doing scouting reports, I may look at it like, okay, if I was this team, how would I guard this action? And then now we're preparing as if like, all right, well, this is what they do, and now I can see how we can, take advantage of what they're going to do by being in those positions. Sometimes I even jump on the court and show them what needs to be done, and that type of deal. But no, it's all in helping the betterment of the team, but being able to have those eyes, especially positionally, to when certain people, certain players might ask, all right, what do you see? And it's like, well, if they're sagging off to you on this side, maybe have to come off the screen this way or do, different things like that. So it just, the feel of the game and being able to see through things a little bit differently.
You've seen these things before, right? You can like kind of say, "Hey, I know what you're going through. I've been in the same position," kind of, right?
Yeah, I played against certain defenses, and this is how I had to do something different. If they're in a boxing one against you, and we're gonna make them play 4-on-4, what can you do that they're completely taking you away to make you effective, to make our whole team effective? It was like, oh, maybe I could become a screener. And if they don't switch, now somebody else is getting a wide open layup because they don't want to come off of me. Different things like that.
I think it's also really interesting. And I actually heard this on the JJ Redick LeBron podcast. I don't know if you've listened into that.
Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, very interesting. They were talking about the screen assist and that they should make it a stat in the stat sheet, which is really interesting because I'm a really big fan of screening away as well, and like also hey saying thank you teammate, like this is your assist actually, even though you don't really see it. Like a lot of people just
Yeah.
see hey this guy has assist, the other one scores the points, but there's one guy who sets a screen which makes everything happen. What do you think about this? Like, would you say screen assist in the stat sheet, would it make sense?
Well, I feel like you would whoever's doing the stats would need to really know. Like, all right, did that screen get them open or did they just come off and make a good shot? That type of deal. But, and so we actually do something that's called like a analytical thing where we stat our games and practices, and we have other categories. So good screen is in there. So you might get a tally next to good screen and get a +1 in your overall. So it's not on the physical in the stats and on the website, but as coaches and for our players, they get the good screens or the good cuts, and they know about that. So as far as adding it to the statistics, I don't think they'll add that because the variables of if the screen actually played a role in getting that person a shot that they made, or if it was just a tough shot that they made. So I think that's the variables of that I think could be a little bit tricky.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you definitely. I always think I'm trying to think what really separates the good from the great teams. I think it's really in the details. I think really it is in how do you set a screen like that. It can make such a big difference because all these teams, they know different actions, they know different play styles, they know, okay, we know how to run this, we know how to run that. I mean, if we don't, then we practice it until we know. But what really separates is really the execution. What would you say?
As far as what makes the good teams great,
Yeah, like what separates the good from the great? Because you can run the same action, but the one works out much better than the other one. Is it really the details or is it individual players? What would you say?
it's a few things. I mean, it's the details, it's the togetherness of being all on one page, especially on the defensive side. I mean, offensively, you can have a hell of a player that can get any shot he wants, make shots from 40 feet or whatever. But if you're not connected defensively, if you're not connected as a team, then once you hit adversity or once you get into those moments, it makes it even tougher as a team to get out of those when you're not connected. And then the little things of, all right, well, the shot goes up. Am I going to box this guy out or am I just going to watch? And then that's an offensive rebound they may get, and you never know what can happen out of those. So the little things, togetherness, and those are the huge pieces. And then sometimes it's just who's going to be the tougher team. Sometimes your shot might not be falling. You may score 80 something points a game on average, but now you're playing a game that's in the 40s and 50s. How are you going to be able to win when those games are ugly and be the tougher team in those moments that things may not be going your way, to where you just have to find a way and just have that will to be like, okay, well, shots aren't falling, but now we really got to buckle down on defense and really got to get these rebounds to where now that changes typically how you play every other game. Because, like I said, you may score 80, 90 points a game, but now you're in a dogfight and it's 46-49 and you need two stops. Like those are the moments where it's like, all right, we have to be together. We have to be the tougher team and do those little things to be successful.
I'm happy that you said that actually because that gives me a little bit of confirmation. Like when I'm coaching my team, I actually always say what really makes a team great is, I mean, when everything is going well, it's not hard to be happy. It's not hard to be hot and make any type of shot or have a smile on your face and play together as you said. But really, the most important thing is really when things don't go well, and these things happen.
Oh yeah.
These times will come that things will not go well. How do you react? How do you show character? Right? What do you do? Because I mean, you probably have those as well. But I had teams that would just like their head would be down. you're only 10 points down. It's like all possible, but they're like, oh, we've given up. Oh, the other team is taller. The other team has more momentum, and then it's over. You don't have. I believe if you think like this, you don't have any chance
Yeah.
anymore. If you stay positive and say, hey, we can still beat this team, it doesn't mean that you're going to win, but at least you're giving yourself a chance. What would you think about this? How do you create this? I think it's really interesting as well. The momentum, this momentum that is not really seen, but it is seen in some way. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but it can be created with like one play. It could be a block. It could be 1-3. It could be a great play, just like that, and all of a sudden you have this momentum and togetherness again. How do you create this type of momentum?
It's I don't I'm not gonna say you can't create it. I just think it comes from the group that you have. I think like the momentum comes from the players that are on your team, and that's where, if a big shot, you're down two and you hit a three to go up one, and then your teammates aren't celebrating that and they're just, there, then that energy level doesn't pick up. When you have everyone on the same page, going back to that, everyone on the same page, everyone wanting, that same goal, that's what generates those momentum swings is when, a big play happens, having those leaders and having that team camaraderie to be able to pick each other up, to be able to, keep that momentum going, be like, all right, let's now we really have it. And then I mean it also helps when you're at home and you may have some of that energy coming from the crowd, but when you're on the road, it comes from that team. It comes from your team, the leaders you have, and generating that, whether it be with a block or a big dunk or something like that. But having that full energy from and that connectivity is what generates those. Like it's not draw up a play and that's going to get us some momentum. It's that connectivity of the team, and that's what generates the energy, and that's what you see generates those runs. Is those teams they get an extra step, or they get a an extra bounce of energy to be like, okay, now I'm really going to buckle down on defense and we're going to get out and run, or things like that. So I really think that just stems from the players and the connectivity.
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff because it's like you cannot explain it. There's not like one way to really explain what's going on, but it can be so many different things, right? And that's what we talked about before, like the details. What you mentioned, one box out. If you miss the box out, the other team might get a rebound and score, and then the momentum could be gone again because of one box out, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Just look at the Pacers series. Just look at Boston and the
Yeah,
Pacers.
yeah.
Miss a box out, Drew Holiday gets a rebound, game over. So like it comes down to the little things all the time.
They had a big shot, the Pacers, actually. I mean, it wasn't like from the eye test, I wouldn't say it was a sweep. Like they were in the series.
Yeah, it just came down to the little things at the end of the game. Those few turnovers at the end of the game. Not taking care of the ball or giving up those offensive rebounds. Like, and that's what it comes down to. At the end of the game, execution is you really want to execute throughout the game, but at the end of the game, your execution really has to be pretty much perfect when, especially in close games. But I think that's really what it came down to. Is just, I mean, with them, I think it was probably their youth of not being there, and those moments. But and on top of it, it's just if one of those little things went a different way, it's a completely different series. If Halliburton doesn't turn the ball over, it's a completely different series. Or so many different plays happen to where it was just like, okay, they're not winning that game. But over the course of the series, that's what you saw was the constant, was the little things towards the end of the game weren't executed to where, in close games, you lose them.
Yeah, I mean, game one, they should have won that game. And it's another thing, like they were up three. If they foul, do they lose this game? They didn't decide to foul. They got a three. It's like there's no right or wrong, but sometimes it goes this way and
Yeah.
sometimes it goes that way. But I think the Pacers are a good example for togetherness. That's what I would say. I mean, they played really well together, and I think the coach Rick Carlisle, he also said that they're not like they're like a concept team. Do you know what is meant by that?
So I would say if he going off of what I believe it is playing off of concepts. Like not really playing off of kind of what I talked about a little bit with the read and react type of deal. Like you have all these different concepts that you may have off of different looks. It's just playing to those reactions. Like we it may be doing a certain play, but when you do that certain play, you do a different option out of it because that's like, okay, well, they're playing it this way. Now I have that. So, working in different, having those different concepts to the structure is what I believe. Just, kind of based on off our offense is, we have different concepts, but it can all be the same thing. It's just read and react, and I think they have, some read and react stuff to where it's like, all right, if he goes under, I'm going to do this. Or if he chases, this might happen and somebody else does something. So I think that's that might be where he was going with the concepts is this, as far as like the different looks that they may have or different looks that they get are out of the concepts based off of their, main structure.
Would you say that being a concept team requires a lot of high IQ players necessarily, or is it like muscle memory, or do you just like say, okay, this is the scenario I'm in, I know exactly what to do, and all my teammates also know exactly what to do? Because it's not like I think this is something that I experienced with my guys. Like they're 14 and 15 years old, and we have some plays that we run. But when we run those plays, everybody does exactly what the play is supposed to be, and even if something changes, right? Like the defense changes, they're still doing the same thing. They cannot say, oh, okay, this defense is different. I have to do something else.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think it's 50-50. Like you want to have players that have high IQ and know things that or see things in a different lens, but you also have to go off of playing, and having good feel. Because some players may have a high IQ basketball wise, but may not have good feel. So it's kind of like mixing those two, and maybe it's having a little bit more IQ and some feel, and things like that. But a majority of it is playing, having good feel to know, like you said, like if the defense is doing something, and I know that there is something else in our offense that I can do based off of it. So if I have a big going to screen down and the defense is chasing me, instead of probably just shooting up and trying to catch the ball there, I might just curl it and then let them play on an empty side with the big man and whoever is on that side. That's just having good feel. IQ is okay. If I see this mismatch, I might just attack this mismatch, and that might be off of IQ and feel, but that's something that you may see as a player that we don't necessarily see sometimes during the course of it. It's like, all right, well, we know this guy scout wise is a bad defender, but on a switch, if we notice that they're staying a little bit too long on the big, if he rolls on a pick and roll, knowing that his guy is gonna be wide open, that helps. That's just seeing it and having the IQ of knowing that that's going to be there the next time you do it. So it's feel and it's IQ that go into being a concept and read and react type of offense type of deal. But I think it's mixed between the two and not solely one or the other.
Cool to hear like all the different perspectives because I love to ask these type of questions, and it's always interesting to see what people have to say about this. Okay, I have to see about the time. We're almost done with that part, but I have one question that will interest me personally. And you know probably what I'm talking about, but I have one player, or like there's this one type of player who is very talented, who knows that he's really talented, and which could be a problem here and there, who kind of thinks, maybe I don't have to listen to everything what my coaches tell me. How do you coach these type of players? And do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I know what you're talking about. I definitely. So I was one as a track athlete because I was like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna win anyway. I don't need to listen. And then it took the nasty to be like, all right, well, maybe I should have listened, or maybe this. So coaching those type of players is one at the college level, you can kind of recruit to not get those type of players, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. You can't control it. But the biggest thing in coaching those players is the I want to how do I want to word this? The biggest thing is making them go through the adversity of, you know, things aren't going to go good, and you may think you're too good and you can do no wrong. Anytime you step on the court, everything goes in and everything's all good. Well, maybe it's all right. Well, now you're at practice and we're sending double teams to you the whole time. Like we're gonna pick you up full court and we're just gonna harass you. Different things like that. Because if you don't go through adverse moments and you don't know how to play through those, and depending on how you respond to those, helps you know what type of player that you may have and what type of player personally that is. It's like, all right, well, if I'm gonna be picked up full court and trapped the whole time, and I'm trying to dribble through it and I have 10 turnovers, what am I gonna do if that happens in a game? So now it's things that that person may need to work on individually and like as they use it. Like I'm trying to find the word for it, but when this is gonna be a shock to you, but now you have to figure out a way to be better, and how you have to figure out a way, how am I going to still be productive if things aren't, so it's really putting them through the adversity. And nowadays not too many kids face the adversity. And it's like, all right, well, this is tough, and I'm gonna go on to the next thing, or this is tough, and I'm gonna do something else. So it's figuring out those tough moments make you an all around good player. So if you can't handle those, then you're not really as good as what you think. So it's putting them through adverse situations and seeing how they respond to them. I think is the best way to get to that person, as far as like a coaching moment. Like, this is going to happen at some point. So, in order for us to be successful, or if this is just a you type of team, then that's not the environment that we want.
So you would say that they have to feel it. Like they should not, like, obviously you can tell them, but they really have to feel that, oh, okay, something's not going the way that I want. And maybe then they will come to you and say, hey, it doesn't work. What can I do? And then they maybe might be more open to coaching.
Yeah. Because sometimes, you have the stubborn ones that want to figure it out themselves, which is also fine. But you also have the ones that's like, all right, well, this isn't going well. What do I need to do? Do I need to watch film? Do I need to ask questions? Like, they need to feel the pressure, the adversity, because at times it's going to happen, and how you're going to respond, it either is going to deteriorate your team because you don't know what to do and you're taking it out on others, or you're blaming each other and things like that, or you're going to find solutions into being better and how you can help in other ways if adverse situations pop up.
Okay, okay. I'll actually I will try to apply that and and see what
Just gotta
happens.
start. Just pick them up full court and just start trapping them.
Yeah,
See what happens.
yeah. Okay, I think time is almost up. Just by the way, are you a Knicks fan?
I am not a Knicks fan, but because I live here, I rooted for the Knicks in the playoffs. I will say that.
They were pretty good, actually. I mean, with all the injuries, it was tough, but they have a good shot next year, actually.
Yeah, they just got to get healthy.
Gotta get healthy. That's very important. Before we get into the game, we're going to have the section Fun Facts about Basketball that you might know, but probably will not. Presented by me today. So the fun fact is, I can read it to you. In the 1990s, the University of Kansas basketball coach Roy Williams, maybe you know him, he was known for intense practices. Once his team had to run sprints in their hotel hallway because of a snowstorm that prevented them from getting to the gym. So it turned out that all the players were running inside that hotel, and the hotel guests were baffled. That's the fun fact. Have you known that before?
I did not know that at all. I've
So
never
now you
heard that
know.
one before.
Would that something that your players might do if you would be the coach?
No, no,
No.
I wouldn't do that one. Like, all right, like depends on, like if it was like, all right, like if it's game day, like if it was a practice and we're on the road and we practice the day before, it's like, all right, well, maybe we'll go watch some film or something like that, but I'm not gonna make them run in the hallways of the hotel. Like we'll find a way to be productive without that. That's a little different.
Right, right. Okay, well, maybe at some point you might be in a situation then you remember that fact I told you today.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to the game part, and it's something that I thought of. It would be cool to do a draft, but obviously the usual drafts, I think they're very common. A lot of people know about it. So what we're going to do is a little bit differently. We're going to use our good friend AI, which is our game master today. So we're going to ask AI to give us 10 random NBA players, stars or role players, and we're going to do a draft. After the draft, we have our teams. And to make it a little fun, we're gonna have AI simulate a 7-game NBA Finals series to see who wins the NBA championship. So we got 10 players. Okay, the players are LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Mikal Bridges, Malik Beasley, Aaron Gordon, Tyrese Maxey, Clint Capella, and Lonzo Ball. Because you're the guests, I would give you the first pick, and you can choose wisely.
It's a tough one to pick between 1 and 2, but if I had to go, I'm going with 1, and I'll take LeBron.
Okay, LeBron James. That would have been my pick as well, actually, but you got him. But yeah, I think I have to take Steph Curry, so that will be my first pick.
All right, and second pick is gonna be again. It's tough not to take Jason Tatum here. I'm just trying to figure out my lineup here and see what I can go with based off of the numbers, the people that we have here.
Okay, I mean, I have a guard already. There's a lot of guards, but I think maybe I need to take someone that you want to pick. Probably Fox or Maxi. I think I'm going with Fox.
All right, so I'll have I have LeBron, Tatum. I'll go with Tyrese Maxey.
There we go. Okay, I figured. Um, so I need someone to guard either LeBron or Tatum, so I'm gonna go with Mikal Bridges.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. Um, Maxey at the 1, LeBron at the 4, Tatum at the 3. Need a little bit of shooting, so I'm gonna go with Malik Beasley.
Very interesting, very interesting. I okay. Now I think I'm gonna go for a big man. But I'm not sure which one. I mean, Gordon could be good for guarding either Tatum or LeBron, but if you get Capella, then I think I would be heavily undersized. So I think I have to go with Capella.
Good, got some rim protection there. That definitely works. And based on that pick, I'm going Aaron Gordon. Uh, I just now I have just the athleticism to really be able to kind of switch. I mean, everybody in the NBA they always switch anyway, but I think Capella we can probably super help off of.
I think yeah, we have to target Malik Beasley. I think you have a good you have a good solid team for sure. But I'm going with Lonzo Ball. I think he's the last one, so I got Lonzo Ball in the lineup. Hopefully he comes back. I mean, before he got injured, he was pretty good, no?
Yeah, and I mean, he had to have a full meniscus replacement. So, because I'm actually a Bulls fan, so that kind of stunk not having him in there. Hopefully, the Bulls will probably be a middle of the pack team at some point. Still waiting on it, but it's gonna take a little time.
All right. So I'll ask our friend AI now to simulate game one of the NBA Finals. The teams are I'm gonna type in my team: Steph Curry, I got Fox. I got Mikal Bridges. I got Clint Capella and obviously Lonzo Ball. The other team is LeBron, Tatum, Maxey, Gordon, and Malik Beasley. Let's see what happens. If you cannot see it, it's a big description of every single play happening basically. But in the end, we got 108-106 win to you. I think your team too. Yeah. Okay, you got game one. You got game one. Let's see what happens in game two. Come on, we gotta bounce back now. I have a good feeling actually. We got close. We got close. I see. I take game two.
Wow,
Curry's exceptional shooting and
pretty
Capella's
close.
dominance in the paint made the difference. All right. Let's see. Series tied 1-1. Game three is important. Team one wins, so I got a 2-1 lead actually.
Interesting.
So maybe Clint Capella, maybe the X factor. Curry shooting and Fox playmaking. There we go. Yeah, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks. But you gotta bounce back now.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking series is gonna go 6. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win in 6. Got a feeling. Got a feeling.
Yeah? Okay, we'll see about that. Gotta win 3 straight then. Ooh.
Oh come on!
And I took a
That's
3-1
crazy.
series lead. 114, 1. It's Curry, I
Oh
think,
man,
last play. Under a minute left, Curry hits a step back 3 to give team 1 a 2-point lead. LeBron responds with a drive to the basket, tying the game. Fox is fouled on the next possession and makes both free throws. LeBron's potential game win, the game tying shot, is blocked by Capella. This is it. Clint Capella.
it was probably a
Yeah,
foul.
probably. It probably was.
Well, I will say this before you simulate to the next game. LeBron has been a part of the only team to come back from a 3-1 deficit. I will say that.
That is actually very true. That is actually very true. Maybe AI is listening to what we are talking about, you know? So who
Hey,
knows?
we're gonna see if that happens. I
If
wouldn't be
that
mad at
happens, then I think all the listeners would think that it's scripted.
it.
Okay, let's see what happens in game 5. Could be over, but we'll see what happens. Okay, you lead at halftime. It's close again. And
Wow,
I win again, actually.
it's crazy.
So it's, yeah, the
Crazy.
game is over.
A
Series over,
4-1.
4-1.
Wow. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Finals MVP goes to Steph Curry. He has been great in the final series. I win 4-1, but yeah, it's all right. Next time we're gonna have a rematch. Thanks so much, Brendan, for being on the podcast, for taking the time. Yeah, if anyone of the listeners want to reach out to you, what would be the best way to do that?
The best way and most active on Twitter, as they now call X, Coach B underscore Newsome is where you can find me on there. Pretty active and definitely, if it's anybody that wants to ask any questions or anything like that, like I think that's the biggest part of growing as coaches is asking questions and growing around the game of basketball is not, I can honestly say I don't know everything, and it's a lot of coaches that I talk to that may say the same thing, honestly, because every day we still learn things. Every day we try different things. So there's always something to be learned, always something to be improved upon. So always ask questions, man.
Perfect. That's why I'm here as well, right? I just want to learn. So thanks for giving me all these insights. And if you want to reach out to him, I'm gonna put the links to it in the description so you can easily check it out. So thanks again, Brennan. It's been great, and I hope you have a great day. And talk soon again, maybe on episode 1000. I'm gonna come back to you and say, hey, it's time to come back.
All right. And we can get that rematch. Thanks for having me.